Hello, welcome to the midweek message from Messiah Lutheran Church in Mechanicsville, Virginia. My name is Pastor Ryan Radke, and I'd like to welcome all of you, Messiah members and internet guests alike, to this week's message. I also want to say that our prayers are with everybody affected by the hurricane tropical storm Isaias that passed through and caused a lot of damage and outages. So prayers with everybody in that area and all up and down the eastern seaboard who have been affected, and lives that are lost and property damaged from this storm. Please check in on your neighbors. Please check in on those in your life that you know are vulnerable or who live alone. Just make sure everybody's okay. This week, I will once again be sharing a commemoration with you all, which is a celebration of a saint whose life inspires us still today and who is recognized on the church calendar. But first, I want to share a memory of my own. This time it's kind of a repeated memory, kind of the Yogi Berra bit, deja vu all over again. And that is a memory of moving. As a kid, I lived in the same house from the time I was born all the way through the time I left in seminary, just minus dorm time when I was in college. But I always came back home, for the first 23 plus years, I lived in the same house. Since then, however, here's how it's been. First year of seminary, went to Dubuque, Iowa. That first summer, after that, traveled to 6 different Lutheran camps, Lutheran Bible camps, from Nebraska to Florida and places in between. I can tell you that story another time. Second year of seminary, back to Dubuque. Chaplaincy in Omaha, Nebraska. Internship in Central Nebraska. Then back for the last year of seminary. First call was in Southwest Minnesota. Moved to California in 2012, lived in 5 different houses over the last 7 years in California. The current one was under construction for 3 of them. And now heading your way in Virginia, where there will be 2, maybe 3 homes before we're finally settled. So, since beginning my time in ministry, moving has become not just a memory all the times, but almost a muscle memory. Packing and unpacking boxes, pretty good with a tape gun now. Sorting and purging and cleaning, disassembling and reassembling various pieces of furniture, pictures on the wall and spackling the holes when they come off, carrying box after box, loading and unloading trucks, wrapping plates and glasses. It's all there. Memories I don't necessarily want, but I got them. Here's the thing though. I'm a homebody. I like being at home. I like being rooted and settling into a house, settling into a community. I like having everything in its right place. I like stability. And as my family has lived through all of these moves, I think I've come to value all of these things even more, especially when I haven't had all of them. We've always had a roof over our heads, but I crave roots and stability. All these moves are not working for me. And that brings us to this week's commemoration, which is coming up on Saturday the 8th. That is for Dominic, founder of the Order of Preachers, also known as the Dominicans, who died in 1221. Here's his quick summary. Dominic was a Spanish priest who saw the wealth of the clergy as a stumbling block for the church. So he formed a movement, the Order of Preachers, commonly called the Dominicans, devoted to itinerant preaching and living in poverty. And fun fact, Dominic is also the patron saint of astronomers. So there you go. I want to talk to you about 2 of the aspects of Dominic's ministry, itinerancy and poverty. First up is being an itinerant preacher, traveling from place to place, always on the go, never settled. As you just learned, that would freak me out a little bit. One dictionary described itinerancy as alternating periods of work and wandering, which sounds kind of cool. I like how it sounds, but it's not really me. I don't mind a good exploration or an adventure from time to time, but remember, homebody, not a wanderer. Paul, the Apostle Paul, was a wanderer. I mean, he planted churches all over the place. I might have ended up hosting one of those churches that he founded, one of those house churches, but I probably wouldn't have been on the boat or on the road with him. That's okay. Uh, Jesus was itinerant too. He even said at one point that the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Foxes have holes, birds of the air have nests and trees, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Um, and he went from town to town, proclaiming and healing and teaching. That's how the good news spread. Mark's gospel puts it this way. Then Jesus went about among the villages teaching. He called the 12 and began to send them out 2 by 2, and gave them authority over the unclean spirits. But he also told them to pack light, not to stay in one town too long. Dominic followed in these footsteps. He chose itinerancy as a lifestyle, partly to spread the gospel, but partly to show a contrast. As the quick bio said, he also chose poverty. Now, the priests in his time and place were well off, and yet they were surrounded by peasants and serfs, the poor and the hungry. He didn't see how any of these normal people around them could hear the good news through this disconnect of a well-off priests and poor parishioners. When he was a student, Dominic was at school as a severe famine hit, and he sold everything he had, including precious manuscripts. They were hard to come by in that day and age. And to his astonished fellow students, he reportedly said, "Would you have me study off these dead skins when people are dying of hunger?" He did everything he could. So Dominic ended up starting a whole order of priests who lived in poverty, who had no home, no possessions, the meanest of clothes, who never allowed himself the luxury of a bed. He strove for a lifestyle and a type of preaching that displayed sanctity, humility, and asceticism. In his time and context, he believed that this was the only way to preach, the only way to really live and show the gospel so that people could hear it. This convicts me a little. I'm not looking to live in a mansion. That's not what the houses we're looking for are in Mechanicsville. I don't need a Gulfstream private jet like some of the televangelists have. I just want stability for my family. I mean, Dominic didn't have kids, right? I mean, it'd be different. I'm not looking for luxury. Just want to be secure enough to be rooted in the community, not worrying. That's good for ministry, right? But I also know that, compared to so many in our world, I do live in luxury. I'm very conscious of the fact that everything we have, house, cars, stuff, food, is only possible because of the generosity of churchgoers like all of you. I'm grateful. I'm humbled. I think that all the moves over the last few years have made me less open to itinerancy, because I don't feel like I've chosen itinerancy as a lifestyle like Dominic did. It feels more like a circumstance. Again, not looking for a big mansion, but it just feels like it's been nothing but obstacles. Like itinerancy is something happening to me, something to overcome. I don't want to wander. And when I say that I want to be secure, I think what I really mean is comfortable after all of this turmoil. And comfort isn't a bad thing until it is. Comfort can easily become an idol. Comfort can become the be-all, end-all. There's a saying about being a disciple: comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Prickle them with the grace of God so that they don't become stumbling blocks. Maybe Dominic's example of itinerancy doesn't have to be either something you choose or something that happens to you. For him, it was something that he, chose to do because that suited and served his context and his time and place. But whatever your context, maybe itinerancy can be a mindset. Maybe that's what it means to be commissioned by Christ, that you follow him where he leads you into generosity and forgiveness and reconciliation. It's striving for humility, for the sanctity of knowing that God is working through you, representing that, for asceticism in the sense that you give up the things that you don't really need, and that you give up the things that turn you away from God. And being itinerant like Dominic, not in the physical sense, but in the spiritual sense, is being open to the opportunities that God puts before you, letting go and looking around, not just in your tunnel vision, but looking around to see where the Holy Spirit is inviting you to wander, knowing that God will work through you no matter how you're wired, whether you're a homebody or something else. I think of the story in Acts when the Holy Spirit whisks Philip away down to the wilderness road where he meets the Ethiopian eunuch. The differences between them were not a barrier. Philip opened up the scriptures to him, told him about Christ, and then the man sees water in the wilderness, and he says, "Look, here is water. What is to prevent me from being baptized?" Nothing. He's baptized, and he goes on his way rejoicing, while Philip is whisked away yet again. Paul writes in Philippians, "I know what it is to have little, and I know what it is to have plenty. In any and all circumstances, I have learned the secret of being well fed and of going hungry, of having plenty and of being in need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me." Let the Holy Spirit provide an itinerant perspective, open to wander for the gospel, open to let things go, to look around and see water, thankful always. Whether you are at heart a homebody or someone who alternates between work and wandering, you will be at home in the Lord. There's my thoughts on Dominic for you today. Something to chew on, something to ponder, wrestle with, and something that I'm wrestling with. I hope that you have a good rest of your week. You're safe, that you're checking in on each other, and that you're praying for one another. Take care, and we'll see you next time.